Hi, I'm Dave Monty and welcome to my video series, Everything Villages. Today I'm going to do a quick market update. It is September 2022, so stay tuned. As always, a couple of housekeeping items. If you like this video, please hit like. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it. Both those actions help these videos reach more people. Also, I do have a free 42-page guide, Buying and Selling a Home in the Villages. If you'd like your free copy, just email me right here at davemontysales@gmail.com and I'll send you out your copy. Like I said, I'm going to do a quick market update on the Villages. It's not too much different than the last two that I did, but there's something interesting going on that I do want to talk about. It's actually going to be near the end of the video, and I'm not doing that to keep you to watch the video. But if you want to skip ahead to that part, feel free to do so. And I'll indicate what it is here. So the market is definitely slowing. We're seeing less homes come on the market as well as less buying going on. The inventories are remaining fairly stable here at 200 homes on the MLS. At any given time, probably 100 on the VLS at this time. So there's probably about 300 resales for sale. The interest rates have been kind of fluctuating between this 5.5 and 6%. I believe this is kind of scaring away some of the investors. And we're actually seeing some more villas hit the market because I think a lot of investors might want to try to get out of the market at this point. Prices continue to increase, believe it or not, even though the market is softening. But I think that's about to change. And again, that's what I'm going to explain. And it has everything to do with, there's a new section opening, I spelled that wrong, with a good location south of 44. And we're going to talk about that. This works against me because it is a new section and new homes, but it is a good location, and we'll discuss that. All right. So if you've seen any of my videos, you know what months of inventory are, but if this is your first time here, a balanced market is 6 months of inventory. Okay, that's a balanced market. The Villages is never a balanced market. It's traditionally a strong seller's market. Even in 2008 and 9, it was still a seller's market here. And I'm going to calculate this for you. I actually did this actually put this together on Saturday, and a bunch of homes came on the market yesterday. So we're actually up probably closer to 211 right now. Over the last 3 months, we've averaged 124 homes for sale. So how you get months of inventory is you take your current inventory total and divide it by the last 3 months average of how fast homes are selling. And that tells you how fast these homes would deplete if they were all bought at this pace. And that puts us right at 1.6 months of inventory. During the really busy times here, probably the busiest was earlier this spring, we were down to days of inventory, 8 or 9 days of inventory. So we are seeing it kind of lean more towards the buyers, but as you can see, we're still well below that 6 months of a balanced inventory. Okay? Right. And I'll just show you what's going on here. So here is this is the last 5 years, and months of inventory have slowly declined, and it changes throughout the year. You see they go up and down, but we are definitely seeing that here was the beginning of the year, this previous spring busy season, and we've been seeing the months of inventory slowly climb here. What I'm finding is that the nice homes are still selling very fast. It's the homes that need a little bit of work that are just sitting on the market. And I do think we have another anomaly that's going on. And again, that goes into what I kind of hinted at earlier in the presentation that I think might be affecting the market. Again, these are all just opinions, but I try to understand why things are happening, not just what is happening. So I'm going to explain what I think is happening here. All right. New listings, as you can see, we're not at historical lows on new listings. This is over the last 5 years, but you are starting to see new listings decline since the beginning of the year. And they continue to decline. We're only seeing on average maybe 3 homes, maybe 3 to 4 homes a day on average. In the busy time, we were seeing more like 9, 10 homes coming on the market at any time. This is also a slower time of the year for people to sell homes, and it is a little bit of a slower time of the year for people to buy homes. So a little bit of this might be seasonal, but in general, I do think we are seeing the market slow a little bit. Okay. Days on market. Again, if there's more inventory, things are going to stay on the market again. Again, the homes that show very nice are just on and off the market real quick, but the homes that are left are just sitting and sitting and sitting. We're seeing the days on the market start to creep up. We're actually close to 30 days on the market now on average, which is still very low. The average in a kind of a normal market, you're probably looking at 60 days on average for a home to be on the market. Right now, we're seeing about 30 days average. But again, it's the very nice ones are going really quick, which keeps this number down, and the average and below average homes are kind of sitting on the market for a little while, which is ripe for negotiation, by the way. So from a buyer standpoint, it's good. From a seller standpoint, it's not that great. Okay, and these videos do lean towards buyers, but if you're listing, I think this is good for you to understand what's happening in the market and maybe why your home is sitting on the market a little bit longer. All right, so let's look at the average price per square foot. It jumped up last month, and that's kind of shocking. Now, there's a lot of things that can affect this. It's the type of home that comes on the market. If all of a sudden a bunch of higher end homes came on the market, this number will be affected. But when I actually run these numbers, I try to take an average. I get rid of homes with a view. I don't go over 2,000 square feet, which is 95% of the homes in the villages, things like that. So I do try to eliminate the anomalies here so I can understand what's going on. But again, on average, we are starting to see, dip down again, and it bounced right back up. So we still are seeing homes increase in value, which I still think is momentum, and I kind of talked about, I thought it was going to be flattening out, and I do still think that. And then there's one thing that's happening, and we're going to get to it again. All right. Whoops. All right. So average sales price. I did this per square foot. Now here's the average sales price. I just wanted to double check and see what was going on. And this graph almost exactly mirrors the graph that we just went through, which is the per square foot price. So we are seeing, again, a little bit of a jump in price here in the villages. All right. We did talk about this, interest rate hikes. For every 1% of increase interest rate hike, you have a 5% drop in the number of buyers, and that's definitely been the case. So the more you see interest rates increase, the more they drop. Now, that doesn't have as big of an effect in the villages because more than 60% of the villagers will pay cash for homes. Right. Will house prices lower, or will they crash? And my guess is not anytime soon. Okay, the demand continues to outpace supply in the villages. And it's right now what's going on is there are fewer homes and fewer buyers. So we're not changing the ratio between supply and demand. Here's demand, here's supply, and they're both kind of coming down at the same pace. So again, when that happens, you should see pricing start to level off. It's when you start seeing all of a sudden the demand get satisfied and the supply to increase more than the demand is when you really will see prices going down. But again, I don't anticipate that. And I'm going to explain why in the villages. Why that's the case. And the villages is still a very safe place to put your money. We're going to talk about that. But at the same time, I do want to talk about, again, there is something going on, and I'm going to show you that too. The confidence in the housing market is diminishing somewhat overall. You can't help it. There's nothing but bad news across the country when it comes to housing prices. Every article you pick up is kind of anticipating a little bit of a correction in the housing market. However, when you start looking at other sources, not the media itself, but just the real raw sources behind it, you still see an increase in pricing. And this is like Freddie Mac and Freddie Mae, what they anticipate. Here's the increase in pricing year over year. And they're seeing a decline, but this isn't a decline in pricing. This is a decline in how fast homes are going to accelerate. So homes are still accelerating in price, and they're still increasing in price here at about a 2% rate. It's just less than it has been. Okay, so again, we are anticipating the market to stabilize. And basically, this indicates that you're going to have more of a flattening of pricing. Baby boomers are still retiring at record pace, as close to 10,000 retirees a day. That's 3.5 to 4 million new retirees each year. And a lot of them consider the villages. So the villages is continuing to attract the retiree The Villages has a huge advantage over the rest of the United States because the homeowner here is a retiree. Retirees don't lose jobs. They have larger, more diversified portfolios, so something happens to the greater economy, they tend not to be hit as bad. Okay? And a lot of retirees have the ability to pay in cash, so the interest rates don't affect them. So, and we saw that. The last thing that happens is that in this stage in people's lives, there are a lot of compelling events, usually centered around health. And, we always hear that the average villager moves 3 times. And typically those aren't moves that are voluntary moves. In other words, it's like, you know what, we're just getting sick of our house. Let's see if we can move. And then that definitely happens. But a lot of these are quote unquote force moves or change in circumstances, whether health wise to be able to take care of a home or financial wise. Maybe something really bad happens to one of the spouses. So there's a constant demand for homes here, again, from people retiring and people moving within the Villages where they're not voluntary moves. The Villages, the developer, has the ability to control a large portion of the inventory. Last year, there were 7,000 homes sold, and 60% of those sales were new home sales. So a bulk of the inventory that's being sold here is controlled by the developer. If they want to lower the amount of homes that they're building to supply down a little bit to maintain pricing levels, they have the ability to do that if they choose to do so. This is what happened in 2008 and 2009, the combination of a strong retirement base, the ability to control supply a little bit, and it did have a huge effect. When the rest of the United States home values decreased 33, 34%. In the Villages, it was 9 or 10%. It was actually, 3 times better here. Now, it was still a decrease, but it was better than the rest of the country. And that's what I'm saying is, if you need to sell your home, now's a good time to do it. If you believe home prices are going to continue to fall, they're going to fall less here in the Villages. So if you want to put your money in a safer place, real estate-wise, this is a good place to put it. So let's get to there's something interesting going on right now, and we're going to talk about that. So let's talk about how pricing traditionally has been in the Villages, and it's all about location and age of the home a little bit, right? So the very first section of the Villages is manufactured homes, and those are the least expensive in the Villages. Then they started to expand here around Spanish Springs. And so this is the second least expensive. And then it moves up to here in Marion County way north, and they just started developing as they move south along here. Now, as the homes get newer in the traditional part of the Villages, they get more expensive. People still desire the traditional part of the Villages. When people think of the Villages, they think of the town squares, they think of the golf, and they think of the convenience and all the doctors and all that. All of that is up in this area. So location, location, location. So now they're building new homes, and they're building the new homes down here around, kind of southwest here, and quite a ways away by golf cart to Brownwood or even up to Sumter Landing and all that. So the homes have been less expensive down here, mainly due to location. Right? So still a huge demand. I mean, still most of my clients end up buying new homes, which is perfectly fine. But they're buying down in this area. This area right now is in my opinion underdeveloped. You've got a Publix right here and a McDonald's and a couple of stores. And you got Finney Grill, you got Edna's on the Green. They just opened up Sawgrass, or they're about to open it up, which is what I'll call a town square light. It's going to have probably the food options, not maybe quite as many food options or sit-down options as you would get in the other town squares. It's going to have a stage for entertainment, but it's not going to have the other things like it's not going to have a movie theater. It doesn't have shops, so it's not going to have a lot of daytime activity. But just in general, because of location and being very far away from a lot of the shopping, the homes down here have been less expensive. However, what's going on right now is they just opened up DeLuna, which they've been building out for the last couple of months, and they just barely opened up Richmond, the village of Richmond, which is not that far from Brownwood. Okay, so all these people who want newer homes but want to be close to the traditional or in the traditional part of the villages, now this is a viable option for them. And all indications is that the developer is keeping the same price points that they had down here up here in Richmond. Now, if demand starts to really increase for here, and I think it might increase pricing, but if they still maintain the same level of pricing that they have down here, all of a sudden you're competing on new homes with pricing that is very similar to what you would get up here in the main part of the villages, okay, way up north. So again, least expensive, second least expensive, and this up here was on par with what they were doing here, again, because of location, but maybe because of what's going on with interest rates or whatever. They've opened up Richmond, and again, it seems like they're going to keep the same pricing. So now the homes here that are for sale have been sitting on the market. And that's the reason why I noticed this, and the reason why I made the phone call to my buddy over at the village and said, how much would you charge for this model? How much would you charge for that model? And I'm like, wow, there's one for sale for this much more and that much more in the different areas in the villages. And so what's going to need to happen, or what is happening right now, is these homes are sitting on the market for a long time, especially down here, is eventually they're going to have to drop the pricing in order to compete against the new home sales here, which will have a ripple effect as you start going north. Or I don't think it's going to be a bubble burst or anything like that, but I do think you're going to see at least homes leveling off, if not a little bit decrease in pricing in the traditional part of the villages, which is a temporary effect unless it's affected by other things in the market right now. But until this little area is built out, once this is built out, then they're back way down here with not the best location. Now, hopefully, and there are plans to increase doctors down here, the number of doctors down here, retail and such. But right now, all of those conveniences are up here. But Richmond, in my opinion, is as good as Collier, which is probably the most expensive village in the villages outside the premier homes. But price per square foot in this little area right here is the most expensive because it is the newest homes in the traditional part of the villages. Okay? So I do think, again, I'm speculating that these homes prices, if they keep them the way they are, or what I've been seeing, will start to have a ripple effect as we start to go north. So whether that happens or not is to be seen, but the good news for buyers is that it's definitely at least going to level off, if not go down. For sellers, if you're working with another agent and they're showing you a comp on the way things have been, everything has just changed over the last few weeks with them opening up Richmond. And when they opened up Richmond, you are starting to see a lot of buyers finding that as a viable option, as good as some of the options in the traditional part of the villages. Okay, so take that with a grain of salt. It's just my opinion as to what's going on, but I did see some behaviors change overnight, well beyond what the market was doing, and I always try to understand why. I may have said that earlier in the presentation, but I always try to understand why, and I think this is why we're starting to see things, especially down in this area, just really kind of come to a halt almost. Okay, so the key takeaways on this is market is slowing, prices are still increasing, just not as fast. The inventories are a little bit better. Interest rates might be, actually this is from an old slide, so they might be still ticking up a little bit. And I didn't really, buyers don't have to have fear of missing out anymore. So if you are wanting to pull the trigger because you think the homes are going to increase, I actually think what's happening with the release of Richmond and the village of DeLuna, that you're going to start seeing prices stabilize in the villages. It's going to have an effect, in my opinion. That's the quick market update. And if this is your first time here, I apologize. I do talk fast, and but I hope you got something out of it. Again, if you like this, please hit like. And if you like my channel, please hit subscribe. If you like a free 42-page guide, buying and selling a home in the villages, you can email me right here. I also have a cost of living calculator if you'd like that for the villages, and you can email me at the same address. Again, I hope you found this informative, and I hope to be seeing you around the villages